Even with the whole world knowing that she was the one that was assaulting Johnny while they were married, Amber has still refused to accept defeat and was even claiming she's gotten a win out of the whole thing by signing a book deal. But it seems that's not exactly the case. So, what exactly is the real story behind this book thing Amber has been going on about? Amber Heard has been in and out of the news over the past few weeks, which has mostly been because she lost the trial and was proven to have defamed Johnny by calling him an assaulter. But another reason she has repeatedly been in the headlines is over her interview that was held just over a week after the trial was concluded and the verdict was passed. And although a significant part of her being in the news was based on her still lying and blaming Johnny for rigging his way to the top, it was also announced around that time that the actress was going to be penning down a book. That's not all. According to the reports, the book is supposed to be a tell-all, where the actress is able to spill her own side of the story on how everything went down with the legal case, as well as what really happened when she was married to Depp, detailing out all the events that were sealed from the trials that took place. It is also allegedly supposed to be worth several millions. The news came as a shock to a lot of people because the actress had just been handed a $10.4 million fine and lost a case she basically lied about. Well, according to an expert called Robert Mark, who happens to have been published by large-scale publishing houses and also owns a publishing company of his own, this news about Amber getting the deal is probably false. In fact, the expert maintained that no publishing house in its right mind would ever think about publishing such a book. Before you decide to conclude, hear me out. Besides his experience in the field being the basis of his educated presumption, he also stated that profitability and liability are the major reasons why such a thing couldn't happen. Speaking on the profitability aspect first, he explained that it is important to understand how large publishers operate. Based on his experience, he revealed that most of their money is made through their bestsellers. These are books that will sell a vast number of copies in a short period of time. The profits from these sales are then used to develop new authors and what he described as a midlist, which essentially means books that are usually profitable but at a much lower level. If a publisher offers a 7-digit advance for a book, they are expecting it to perform well in the bestseller tier. So the question in terms of profitability is whether a book by Amber Heard will sell enough copies to warrant paying her a 7-digit advance up front. And here, the answer seems to be a resounding no. Now, looking back at recent events, a test screening of Aquaman 2 where Heard had over 20 minutes of screen time resulted in #BoycottAquaman2 trending on Twitter. Also, a well-publicized interview on Dateline resulted in the show receiving its lowest ratings of the season when the interview aired. It now appears very clear that the public does not care to hear what Amber Heard has to say at this time. And this brings us to the second point that was raised by the expert, which is liability. Explaining his views further, the expert revealed that any publisher large enough to offer a 7-digit advance to anybody is also going to have a legal department, whose job includes vetting potential books for liability concerns. Because of the entire controversy on this case and by extension Amber Heard as a person, there are a number of questions that must be considered in a tell-all memoir. Will those mentioned in the book take legal action for defamation? If legal action is taken, will the case be winnable? Will the publisher's liability insurance cover any of the legal costs? Will any of the costs be recoverable in other ways? In the case of a book by Amber Heard about her marriage with Johnny Depp, the liability risk would be massive and overpowering, to the point that even if an acquisitions editor had believed Heard and offered her a book deal, the legal department would go out of its way to end it. The problem is that the allegations made by Heard have already been found to be defamatory by an American court of law. As such, any American publishing house publishing a book with these allegations faces what is in all probability an open and shut legal proceeding against them. Contrary to what the news outlet articles suggest, this is not likely to be a defamation action. Instead, this is more likely to be an injunction to stop the publication of the book on the grounds that its contents have already been determined to be defamatory in court. Once the injunction goes through, the book would have been strangled in its proverbial crib. Or, put another way, any publishing house considering such a book contract would be better served by tossing the entire budget for the book's advance, editing, and publicity into a bonfire. At least that way, they get something nice to watch as the money burned. The book itself would never see the light of day. Well, just as experts in the industry have been talking about the deal being a no-no for any publishing house, fans have also been giving some of their views on social media too. One user wrote, "I asked myself what kind of publishing house is offering this woman money for that. Can't they see that only her girlfriend's sister and 3 fans will buy it? I mean, she's being debunked on all her lies." Another user who seemed to have been joking about the whole thing wrote, "So Amber wants to write a book. What genre do we think her book would fall under? Sci-fi? The man Man with Scissors for Hands. Fantasy, Amber Heard and the Chamber of Lies. Mystery, The Secret of the Disappearing Donation. Horror, Haunted by the Bedshitter. Till now, no one is really certain about if this book deal is going to happen, but based on the view of an expert, as well as the people, it might not be the brightest idea. But hey, this isn't the first time Amber would make less than ideal decision, so we'll just have to wait and see how things end up. However, do tell us, do you think she's going to actually write on all of this, or she was just bluffing from the start?